So, welcome to today's deep dive. We are jumping into some incredibly fascinating source material today.
We really are. It's an outline and a presentation called Healing Blended Homes.
Right, and it specifically focuses on overcoming step-parent burnout and marital division. And our mission today is to, well, really unpack the hidden dynamics of blended families.
Yeah, we want to figure out exactly why step parents hit that breaking point.
Exactly. And to start, I want you to imagine something for a second.
Hmm.
Imagine you're trying to carry this ridiculously heavy couch up a really steep flight of stairs.
Oh, I hate moving furniture.
Right. It's the worst. So
Yeah.
your knees are buckling, your grip is slipping, you're just sweating through your shirt, but you keep pushing upward.
Because you think your partner has the other end.
Yes. You are supposed to be doing this together. But then, halfway up the staircase, you turn around to, check on them.
And they aren't there.
They let go 3 steps ago.
Yeah.
You are holding the entire crushing weight of this massive thing all by yourself. And your partner is just standing down on the landing, just watching you struggle.
That visceral feeling of abandonment, honestly, that is the absolute core of the burnout epidemic we are unpacking today.
It really hits you right in the chest when you realize what's actually happening in these homes.
It does. Whether you are in a blended family yourself, or you know someone who is, or honestly, even if you're just fascinated by relationship psychology, this material is eye-opening.
It completely upends the traditional narrative, doesn't it?
Totally. It radically shifts the blame. We're so used to hearing about, the bad kids or the evil step-parent.
Right, the classic fairy tale tropes.
Exactly. But this research puts the focus squarely on the actual structural issue, which is a divided marriage.
Which means that step-parents aren't tired because they don't care about their new family. They are running on empty because they are caring entirely alone.
Yes, they are emotionally exposed by the very person who brought them into the family in the first place.
It's just wild. So if the kids aren't the root of the problem, even if their behavior is chaotic, why does the step-parent end up feeling so isolated?
Well, that leads us directly into the psychology of the biological parent and this pervasive, almost suffocating concept of the guilt trap.
The guilt trap, yeah. The source is super explicit about this. It says step-parents have to stop pretending everything is fine.
They do. You cannot keep pasting on a smile in public and then quietly falling apart in the kitchen.
Burnout is a warning sign, not a weakness.
Exactly. The facade has to drop because that pretend piece is usually just enabling the biological parent's guilt.
Wow. Okay, explain that guilt a bit more. Where's it coming from?
So, biological parents in blended families often carry this immense, crushing burden of historical guilt. They feel guilty over the divorce itself, maybe past mistakes,
Right.
and a profound guilt over the daily pain they see their child experiencing just because the original family unit fractured.
That makes total sense.
But the brutal, necessary truth the text brings up is that guilt is not parenting.
Okay, let's unpack this, because I do want to push back on that idea just a little bit.
Sure, go for it.
If my kid has just gone through the trauma of a divorce and they are crying over packing their suitcase every single Friday to shuffle between two different lives,
It's heartbreaking.
it is. My biological instinct is going to be pure, unfiltered protection. I'm going to want to cushion every blow.
Of course.
I'm going to want to let things slide because they're hurting. So how on earth do you switch off that biological imperative? Isn't it completely human to shield a grieving child from more conflict?
Oh, it is entirely human. And it's a completely natural response to their pain. But the source makes us look at the psychological mechanics of what actually happens when a parent leads with that guilt.
Okay, what happens?
When a biological parent lets a child disrespect their new spouse just because they feel sorry for the kid or want to avoid adding friction to a tough week, they aren't protecting the child.
What are they doing then?
They are training that child to dishonor authority. They're inadvertently teaching them that trauma is like a free pass for toxic behavior.
Oh, wow. So you are validating the emotion but rewarding the unacceptable action.
That is the exact distinction. The framework synthesizes those two things beautifully. Children are absolutely allowed to grieve. They can have big, messy feelings and struggle with the change.
Empathy is non-negotiable.
Right. However, they do not get to control the marriage. They don't get to dictate the household rules. And they certainly don't get to punish the step-parent for the pain of the past.
I see the dividing line now. You separate the internal grief from the external behavior. But here is where the friction actually happens in the real world.
In the living room, yeah.
Exactly. It's one thing to say, hey, we need boundaries.
Yeah.
But the second a step-parent actually steps up to enforce one, They instantly risk being cast as the villain.
The evil step-parent trope strikes again.
Right. So how does a step-parent enforce a standard without becoming that villain?
Well, that fear of the label is why so many step-parents are told to just be patient. Give it time.
Which sounds like good advice on the surface.
It does. But patience has a very dark side if it isn't paired with something else. The text drops a really profound insight here. It says, patience without boundaries becomes permission for mistreatment.
I just need to repeat that for you if you're listening right now. Patience without boundaries becomes permission for mistreatment. That is heavy.
It is. What's fascinating here is that the text also notes the step-parent can't just come in swinging and criticizing, expecting instant loyalty.
Right, relationships take actual time to build.
They do. But taking time doesn't mean tolerating disrespect while the clock ticks.
I love that distinction. It actually makes me think about this dynamic like owning a home. Having patience without boundaries is like leaving your front door wide open.
Because you want people to feel welcome.
Exactly. You want the neighborhood to know you're open-hearted. But then you stand in your hallway, completely shocked and deeply resentful when people walk right in and track mud all over your expensive rugs.
That is a brilliant way to visualize it.
You can have an open-door policy. You can be super loving and patient. But you still need a welcome mat where people wipe their feet. Like, my heart is open, but you will not drag mud into my living room.
The open door is your patience, and the welcome mat is your boundary.
Yes. So what does that welcome mat look like in real life?
In practice, it sounds very specific. The text gives examples like, I will not be yelled at, or I will not argue with a child while my spouse stays silent.
That is a firm line in the sand.
It is. But establishing that requires the adults to be a united front. And that leads to the most dangerous pitfall in this entire dynamic.
The public fight.
Exactly.
Right, because if the kid tracks mud in and the step-parent points to the mat and says, wipe your feet, and the biological parent jumps in like, oh, leave him alone, it's just dirt.
The entire system collapses instantly.
Which brings us to the tactical advice from the source, the closed-door strategy.
Yes. Couples must have a private meeting, not a public fight. Arguing in front of the kids just hands them immense power.
Let's look at the mechanics of that. Why is it so disastrous to just hash it out in the moment?
Because when children see their behavior can fracture the leadership of the home, they realize they have leverage. The adults devolve into competing factions.
The child learns they can just push a button and get the biological parent on their side?
Exactly. So behind closed doors, the couple has to agree on reality. What behavior is unacceptable? What are the consequences? And exactly how will the step-parent be supported?
I mean, I understand the strategic logic, but man, I have to point out the human reality here. Biting your tongue in the heat of the moment takes superhuman restraint.
It really does.
If you're standing in your kitchen being overtly disrespected by a teenager and your partner is just looking at their phone pretending not to hear it.
Walking away feels impossible.
It does. And the material addresses how dire this gets. There's this massive warning from a counselor directed at the biological parent.
Yeah.
If your spouse feels like giving up, don't dismiss them as being dramatic.
Right.
The text says the marriage is bleeding.
Such a visceral phrase. It describes a fatal, slow-motion loss of vitality, and it emphasizes the ultimate warning. If the biological parent keeps choosing peace with the kids over partnership with their spouse,
They lose both.
yes, they will eventually lose the respect of everyone. The text explicitly says your silence is not neutral.
Because they stay silent thinking they're the peacemaker, right? To avoid a blow-up.
But the child doesn't respect you for being chill. Their nervous system registers that you are weak and can't lead the environment.
And obviously the spouse loses respect because they are alone on the stairs with that heavy couch.
Exactly. By trying to please everyone, the passive parent alienates the entire house.
So to make this incredibly practical, the source actually provides literal scripts, like exact words for the couple to use with each other to stop the bleeding.
And they are a masterclass in high-stakes communication. They remove the element of attack entirely.
I'm going to read the exact sample dialogue provided for the step-parent in that private meeting. Tell me what you think of the architecture of this.
Go for it.
I love you, but I am not okay. I feel unsupported when the kids disrespect me and you say nothing. I am not asking you to choose between me and your children. I'm asking you to stand with me so this home can have order. I cannot keep functioning like this.
It is so psychologically effective. It starts with validating the
I
love.
love you.
Right. Then it states the boundary, I am not okay. But the genius part is how it diffuses the primal fear of the biological parent.
By saying, I am not asking you to choose.
Exactly. It frames the request as a plea for partnership, not a purge.
And the biological parent's response has to match that vulnerability. The expert text suggests they say something like, you were right, I've allowed too much because I didn't want conflict with my children.
Radical accountability.
Yeah. But I see now that my silence has hurt you and damaged the home. I am going to address the disrespect directly, and we are going to work as a team.
Notice there is absolutely zero defensiveness there. No, well, you were harsh too, just pure ownership.
My silence has hurt you. It's so powerful. And here is where it gets really interesting for me. If we look at the bigger picture, this psychological advice isn't just modern therapy speak.
No, not at all.
The presentation actually roots this entire framework in a Christian perspective on order and peace.
Yes, the source notes that God is not the author of confusion. It cites some very specific scriptures to back this up.
Like Mark 3.25, right?
Right, the famous verse that a house divided against itself cannot stand, and 1 Corinthians 14.33 about being the author of peace, not confusion, and Ephesians 4.29 about speaking words that build up.
Build up the structure, yeah.
The overarching philosophy is that a home can't heal when everyone is just running by their own individual rules. Love is essential, but love without order just creates chaos.
And what strikes me is that even for listeners who aren't religious at all, the architectural logic of that Mark 3.25 verse is undeniable.
Completely objective.
Right. You cannot build a stable second floor, which is the blended family, if the foundation, the marriage is cracked right down the middle.
The foundation has to bear the weight. If the couple isn't a unified slab of concrete, stress fractures are going to show up everywhere.
And they show up in the kids' erratic behavior and the step-parents' burnout.
Exactly.
So bringing it all together, what is the ultimate takeaway for you listening to this deep dive? First, tell the truth. Stop pretending you were fine while your knees are buckling.
Get support and set those boundaries.
Yes. And remember that silence from a spouse only feeds the chaos. Actually, the source suggests a YouTube title for this topic, and I think it perfectly summarizes the pain point.
What was the title?
Step-parent burnout, when your spouse won't support you and the kids are out of control.
That really is the silent reality for thousands of homes.
It is. The call to action from the source is clear. If you feel unseen, admit you need support, and share these insights with families who need honesty and order.
And as we wrap up, I do want to leave you with a final thought to mull over, something that builds on this insistence that a home needs order to have peace.
Okay, let's hear it.
Consider this paradox. What if the children who are acting out, who are aggressively disrespecting the step-parent, what if they are actually subconsciously craving the very boundaries they're fighting against?
Oh, wow. That is a massive shift in perspective.
Think about it. Their original home fractured, their world proved to be unstable. So when they act out, they aren't just being rebellious, they are conducting a structural stress test.
They're kicking the walls to see if this new house is going to fall down too.
Exactly. And the fake peace the biological parent is trying to keep by staying silent, that is the exact thing creating the chaotic anxiety the children are feeling.
Because nobody is driving the bus. They feel the weakness in the walls.
Children only truly feel safe in a house where the walls are strong enough to hold them.
Man, if you are the one holding the other end of that heavy couch, you have to be able to trust that your partner isn't going to let go. You have to be a load-bearing wall together.
Do not carry it alone.
Incredible advice. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep asking hard questions, keep seeking out knowledge that changes your perspective, and we will catch you next time.